Hello, everyone. Very excited to welcome to the Delivered Social podcast, Becki Simmons from Spark Community Space. Becki, I'm going to ask you to give a very brief introduction, which is really weird because
Me and brief don't really go together, do they?
Well, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say, surely everybody knows you anyway. But can you give a really brief introduction on who you are and what is Spark Community Space?
Well, I founded it, so I'm Becki Simmons, and the reason why is because I had emergency brain surgery a long time ago now, and 11 years, and I was on my own. So I went from working full time to not working, and then that in itself, you know, you're running a business, you've got employees, you're doing everything you need to do on the computer, like web design, all that lot. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you go, how do I answer a telephone? How do I switch on a computer? All of that memory had gone. And that's quite a weird thing. And I healed really quickly after the first initial surgery, but then I had an emotional trauma that set me back. Mm-hmm. And so I would be at home a lot on my own because I wasn't a lady that lunched. I didn't have a circle of friends during the day. Mine were all evening or weekends. And so I just thought, I'm just on my own. And then my friend who runs another charity down the road, Wayne from Stella's Voice, his wife said to me, come on, Becki, come over and have a cup of tea with us. And I was like, why do I want to do that? I'm safe at home. No one sees that I have seizures. No one sees that maybe when I get tired, my words don't come out correctly. If I'm at home, I'm safe. I'm alone, mm-hmm. I'm on my own, but I'm safe. And then, so I went over there eventually after a lot of persuasion, and I had a cup of tea with my friend Nikki and her husband Wayne. And then they just sort of like left me on the shop floor, and I started to get my spark back. I started to realise I'm still Becki, but I'm different. I get that.
Did you feel like it gave you a bit of confidence boost as well, being out rather than being at home?
Yes, it was that. Someone said to me, and it was Wayne and Nikki, but what can you do? And my consultant kept saying to me, Becki, what can you do? And just between that, what can you do, started to say every day, but what can I do today? There's still loads that I can't do. There's still thousands of things I can't do. But what I can do, and then that's how I then opened the shop with them in Waterlooville. Still just 2 days a week because I still have the chronic fatigue. So I have to sleep a lot to recharge my batteries. People don't know that. That's actually new release today on here is I have chronic fatigue. And so it was like a journey of kindness. So these two people saw kindness, and yet I was worth to them something more than just Becki with a brain injury that's a little bit different. And so because of that, I started to sell the furniture because Stella's Voice sells furniture to help children in Moldova. And I just started to get the joy of, I'm a bit of a second-hand girl, you know, love a bit of wheeling and dealing. And that came back to me as soon as they gave me
the opportunity.
Yes. Yeah, because again, that took a lot for them because I have seizures. You know, there's some people that won't even look at a CV of somebody that has seizures because it is a responsibility, and yet they saw past that. And I will be forever grateful because it was during those times in their little second-hand furniture and clothing, I started to see the same people coming in. And they weren't coming in for the furniture and the clothing. They were coming in because I'd go, all right, how are you doing? Do you want a cup of tea? Do you want a bit of cake? And I'd have the donuts or cakes or biscuits, whatever I had. And that's then when I started the idea of, oh my gosh, people want community.
A support network, essentially, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't want to just come into nothing. They're coming in because, they've got to go and see the table and see if it's still for sale. They don't really. That's an excuse. And it's like the handshake. What's the handshake to get people in? Well, and that's how I got the idea of Spark, is I wanted to have a reason for people to come in, which is the shop side. Mm-hmm. And it's always pay what you can afford. And I will probably go into that a bit deeper. But that's the reason why Spark was I started to see people needed community. People needed togetherness. I needed it first. And then it was through my loneliness, I recognised it in others.
And now Spark's obviously opened Pompey Centre, which is thriving, a big, beautiful space. Yeah. But it started off quite small. Did you expect to get as big as it has this quickly?
I didn't expect, but I knew it should. So it's a really weird one. I started off because I'm happy at home, and people don't realise that I still to this day have a lot of anxiety about new spaces. I always go with somebody, very rarely on my own. If I'm on my own, it's because I feel safe. And so we started with an online coffee morning, and I thought people just want to be together. So and that was through lockdown. And then my friend who owns and runs Sherlock's Bar, Richard Peckham, he kept saying to me, Becki, you need to come and test out Spark in our pub. We don't open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Why don't you have our space rent free and just see how it goes? And I was like, don't want to, because then I become vulnerable again. People see that I might not be able to be okay. So I started networking online during lockdown. I did a lot of hours. So people still think that Spark just happened, and it really didn't. It was, I knew the end goal. I'm very single-minded on where I knew it had to be like the Pompey Centre for it to work. So I was very goal-orientated. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew that people had to feel worth, people had to be valued, and people had to have my best. And I think that Spark is that. If you come in, you'll see it's a little bit chaotic. It's a little bit like, this shouldn't work. I had somebody yesterday from the Solent NHS, and she said to me, this should not work on paper, but it's the most beautiful thing she witnessed. And I was like, thank you. And that was like really quite precious.
Is that because it's real? Yeah. It's real people, different backgrounds, yes. All ages.
Yes.
Because I find that really interesting. Somebody said this shouldn't work. What part of it are they thinking this shouldn't? Why shouldn't it work?
I think it's because it's multicultural, it's multi-ages, it's multi-religion, it's every single thing you can think of. Yep. We have people literally yesterday, it was like a scooter rally. You know, people were just coming in on their scooters and whizzing down the ramps and coming in. And someone said to me, oh, shouldn't they park them outside? I said, no, that's their comfort. That's how they feel safe. I said, and you watch. And all of a sudden someone got out of theirs and sat on a normal chair. Now they feel safe. And I said, and you watch, the next time they come in, they will leave their scooter outside. But don't ask somebody to feel uncomfortable before they're comfortable.
Yep. So it's almost like you're creating their space within your own space.
Yes. And that's why there's lots of different zones. And some people can't volunteer with us because they might not have the right way. And what's the right way? They just have to be kind. That has to be a natural default of kindness, because we are dealing with some people that this is their first time out of their homes in many years, and they are on high alert. They are anxious. They can just we've got a little lounge area. It's the first thing you see when you come in. It's a little lounge area, and some people just stay in the lounge. They can't get into the other spaces because, and then you see them come in the second week and they sit in the lounge, and then they go to the next little seating area, which is in the middle of the shop. And then you see them going onto the craft table, and you just see that journey of over 3 weeks. Someone goes from coming in, and then all of a sudden they become the support for people that are new. And that's what happens. Spark is not about one-to-ones. It's not about doing anything other than just be kind to each other and see, and I always say that it's priceless, the power of a cup of tea, because with a cup of tea in your hand, you literally just go, and that's what this is for some people. And I just say to people, it's really hard to explain Spark. You have to come in to see it.
But I think it's really interesting when you sort of spoke about different people who visited Spark, and you've said the journey or the transition of that person who perhaps felt lonely, a bit like you did before starting this off, and not feeling comfortable, to suddenly their confidence just building and building and building. Yeah. And everyone has different backgrounds, everyone has different circumstances for being in those positions. But when they come to Spark, that doesn't matter. Yeah. They're treated as a person.
Yeah, and they're treated like they are the most precious. We have, I always say to people, give your best. And they look at me and they say, I said, we have cakes donated by the 10th hole. We have cakes donated by the Queens. And this is every week. We have tea and coffee from the Island Tea and Coffee people. And that's because I want to give people the best, so that then they feel worth of value. If you go and get them a cheaper brand, and I'm not going to name any, but if you do, that's just like, that will do.
Yeah.
And I just think there has to be that worth, that value, because when I first had the surgery and I went out for coffee, I went from having a big income to nothing. I didn't know about PIP. I didn't know about any benefits or anything like that, because when you're too poorly, you just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went out for a cup of tea, I would choose the cheapest thing on the menu, and it would just be a drink. And it would probably be, I think that's why I got into soda and double lime, I'll be honest, because it was always 50p or a pound.
Mm-hmm.
It was never more than that. And so when I say to people, I wanted to create a pay what you can afford space, is because when people hit crisis, or they are super vulnerable, or they have a change of circumstances, if they have to pay £2, £3, that sets barriers. And so I wanted to say, and I always say to people, when I hear them say, oh, it's free, I say, no, this costs me everything. And then they look at me and I say, no, there's a very high cost to Spark. It's not free, but if you can't afford it, then it's our gift of love.
And it's also a lot of pride on that person. You know, if they can't afford that cup of tea or that soft drink, the pay what you afford scheme allows them to be able to come in, no pressure.
Yep.
You know, you pay what you want to pay.
And it's very discreet, the donation tins.
Okay, talk to me about the donation tins.
So I always said, because I get criticised a lot about the what do you call it, the way that Sparks run. When I first had the idea, it was like, this can't work, Becki. You know, this can't be sustainable. This can't be...
Is that purely from the financial side of things?
Yeah. And I get that. I do live in the real world, but I quite like being in my bubble. I know. I like being in Becki's world because I just see yes. And so when someone said to me, you can't have this, I remember saying to the trustees on the very first day we opened, and they said, I really think we ought to have just a nominal fee. And I said, it's pay what you can afford. It's not a debate. It's not up for question. That's how we're running it. Because I remember feeling less than, and I don't want anyone else to feel like that. And I'm really passionate. And someone will say to me, but should you now put a charge on people that come in regularly? I said, people come in regularly because they need us.
Yeah. And if that charge was there,
they wouldn't come.
They're gone. Yeah.
And so I'm really, that's the key of why Sparks work, is our welcome is greater than it's pay what you can afford. Our welcome has to be the first thing people do. So on the way out, you may see a little box that says you can donate here. On the counter, it says pay what you can afford. Mm-hmm. It's very discreet, so no one would even know if you paid or not. And that's what I love. It's like the welcome has to be the most important thing.
Yeah. And I think also on the other side, you have businesses and other charities which support into Spark. So the enablement of pay what you can afford, it isn't just a magic system. There are other avenues and other revenue streams which come in. So do you want to talk about some of the businesses involved?
I mean, I am. So again, I've had a lot of people say it's all right for you where you are now. And I said, well, you didn't see me do 60 hours a week online networking before Spark opened, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
My friend Emma Weatherstone, she at the time worked for an organisation, and she just kept saying, right, Becki, you've got to be in this networking group. Right, Becki, now you be in this networking group. And I literally would just do the Zoom calls, because then you didn't have to go face to face.
Yep.
And so I would tell them about what Spark was going to be. And then it started triggering, oh, okay. They still didn't understand what Spark concept was, but it started to...
I guess when the space came available, and when you were in Sherlock's Bar, people could visualise it.
And I remember the first day we went to Sherlock's Bar, I had one volunteer, and it was me and one volunteer. And as the businesses came in, because a lot of the businesses I'd never met before, because it was during just after COVID, and I remember setting it all up, and I baked the cakes the day before, and then took all the cakes down there. Richard got me a beautiful cake stand. And I'm forever grateful for Sherlock's Bar, because Richard Peckham and his wife now, Debbie, really, really gave us the foundation that we needed. And they just gave us the most perfect venue.
Yeah.
And so we set up, and I remember this lady come in and she said, oh, you know that Rotary Club that you spoke at on Zoom? I said, yeah. She said, here's £100. And I turned around to my trustee and I went, told you it's pay what you can afford. And that was the cementing of why we always kept it pay what you can afford, because the businesses started to say, and that's where we've now got an ambassador program. Mm-hmm. which we're grateful delivered social as part of that. There's SLR, there's
I mean, you've got a whole board of them.
I think there's 14. There's Hannah from My Beautiful Coach. There's Home Instead Portsmouth, GRP Solutions. I mean, we have got some of the kindest support that you could ever ask for. I think we have nearly 14 now. Rock Marsh estate agents have just joined up and Dwell Design. But we've had some amazing people like Ian Skinner from Diversity Cleaning. He was the one that said to me about the ambassador program where you need the businesses to pay monthly so that you can get support. And I was like, no one's going to do that. Why would anyone pay into this charity that still hasn't got a home? And he said to me, Becki, they will. And I think we've now got 14, I think, involved on that basis. My friend from Scotland, Derek, he was the first one to sign up as an individual, and my friend Richard. And so it's like some of my lifelong friends have just gone, Becki, we've known your journey and we're going to put our money behind it. And I still can't quite believe that people do it, but they do. But
they can see the impact. They can see what you guys are doing. It's not just a service gone, here's some money and it disappears. No. Your impact throughout the city is seen. Whether that be online or in person or whenever you're at an event talking about it, people can see it. So I think that's a big thing.
Spark is my heart, and that's it. And so when people say to me, do you take Spark home with you? Well, it's me.
Yeah.
So it's like there's not this is Spark, I leave it at the door. I leave some of the stories at the door. I mean, look at this beautiful branding. That was locally done. That was Sea Dog, you know. But I just think that someone said to me, because not many people know the reason why it's called Spark. They think, oh, it's because you spark back into life. That's the tagline. The reason why it was called Spark is not long after my surgery, I went to this group, and I won't name people, but I will just say this. And I had to go and see the management team of this organisation. And I said, this person's got a problem with me, but I don't know what it is. And then she came into the meeting and she said, Becki, you rock up with your sparkly personality. And Becki's in the room in such a mean way.
Was it meant in a contradictory way? Without patronising?
Yes, it was meant really like everyone's got to know you're in the room. And yet I look at this person and I just think, I'm not even going to defend that because that's me. I've always been this way. I've always been excited. If you ask me out for a cup of coffee, I'd be like, oh, going out for coffee today with Terence.
Off we go to the Queen's Hotel.
Oh, it's always the Queen's. And it's just, that's me. I'm always excited. It's not a show. It's not, I'm this, this is me. I'm just that person. I'm all in or not. And then when it came to the name of the charity, I was like, it's got to be called Spark. Because no one's going to tell me I'm too sparkly again in a negative way. So I remember the conversation when she phoned up to apologise, and I'm grateful that she did.
Yep.
And that was 3 years later, but she did. And I said to her, you'll always know why it's called Spark. And I told her the story, and she was like, oh my gosh. And I said, you know, I will never defend myself publicly in an argument because I just think my character will show you what I think. And I think that that's the way it is, isn't it? And I just think you don't have to be mean. You don't have to be full of hate or anything like that. You just go, well, this is me. Either like me or don't have a cup of tea with me. But don't, you know, and people can be just the most beautiful humans, but they can be a little bit awful too.
Yeah, I was going to get onto that because we have a huge charity network in the city, as you definitely know we do.
Yeah.
When it comes to collaborating with business, Spark do it amazingly well. You also do it well with charities, which is quite rare in most cities. In Portsmouth, charities do collaborate quite a lot.
Yes.
How do you, as the figurehead of Spark, how do you determine which people you work with or which charities to work with?
Well, no, it just starts off with a heart connection. I'm old school. It's like, even when I interview people, I think, well, will I go out for a cup of tea with this person? And sometimes it's as simple as that. You know, I haven't got the brain capacity to go, wow, how many A levels do you have? Do you have a degree? I'm not that person, never will be. And so I just think there are some people that you just align with naturally. They come alongside you and you just collaborate. When somebody has an ego, it's very different. So I'm very soft behind the scenes and people think, oh, I'll be an easy target. you couldn't be further from the truth, because I'm literally so soft, but I hear all my ambassadors. So the ambassadors, that's what they're there for, the people that, because they're my support network. And if I feel a little bit like, should I do this? And someone will say, why are they aligning themselves with you? And I'll be like, I don't know. And then they'll look a little bit deeper. So actually our ambassadors are more than just paying into us monthly. They're actually the support that I go to when I don't, because I just think that I'm staying in my lane. Spark is about a cup of tea, a slice of cake, hello, how are you today? And offering kindness. We're not a one-to-one service, so we work really well with the U Trust. They come in with their bikes because we're not going out of our lane.
My nan loves those.
I know. I know. She comes into us quite often.
I think you see her more than I do.
I know. She is feisty.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is lovely.
Don't know where she gets that from.
I know. Yeah. But I do love that girl. And it's like, but I just align with people that don't push themselves forward. I like to see the unseen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I completely get it. I think it's really interesting what you say about your ambassadors being your support network, because you guys grew so quickly. Did you feel like there was organisations, maybe your ambassadors told you, did you feel like there's organisations getting involved for the wrong reasons? Not because of what Spark were doing, but because they thought, you know what, this is going to do well for my business to be involved with Spark, rather than the impact that they could give.
And that's why the ambassadors, they don't all get a yes. And that's like what people don't realise, is that we have people that may ask to join the network, and we will just go, maybe in a month or two, or we just delay it. Because we want to always be with people that are heart connected, not financially connected, but heart connected. And I think if you have a team, all of our ambassadors are heart connected with the charity. And that just means that when I need anything, they'll go, I can do that for you, Becki. Or I can't do it, but I can point you in the right direction.
I mean, the building work. But they were all over it, weren't they? As soon as you said, has anyone got paint? Has anyone got this? Can anyone come down and lay some flooring? They were there. You could see it online, everyone going, yes, yes. Or I know someone who could help you with that. And then they would get involved, or moving furniture. So people did. And I think that's when you can see the value.
It was mind-blowing, because I remember when I first got the keys, I remember Alison from Biscoes was our solicitor, and she said to me, I don't think you've got enough funds, Becki, for, that's what she's there for, is to show you. And I was like, I've never worried about that, and I'm not going to start now. And she just looked at me and she went, I didn't think you would. and I just the day I walked into the Pompey Centre, I just looked around and I was just like, when you have anxiety, the most thing you have to know is how to get out. You've arrived, but you need to know how to get out. You need to know who's coming along the pathway. You need to feel safe. So you need windows, you need light. And when I went into the Pompey Centre, I was like, this is so wrong, it's perfect. And it was like, I remember David Deacon, I mean, he's passed away now. And he looked at me and I was just like, this is so perfect. It's so wrong, it's right. And I really wish he could have seen us open, because out of everybody, we had the most fun with him. Because it was like, he was like, you are really, I remember when I was negotiating the price, he was like, you're never going to get it for that price. And I was like, don't say never to me, Mr. Deacon. And he was like, but you're not. But we did. And then it was like, I remember Brian from GRP Solutions, and he'd never met me, but one of his employees had said, we'd like to help with the build team. And this employee left. And so me being me, I thought, well, the company have still said they want to. So I messaged him on LinkedIn, said, hi, Brian, you don't know me, but one of your employees. And he said, well, let's meet up. Well, we met up in the Pompey Centre, and as I was walking around, my eyes was just lit up, and I was just like, Brian, when you walk in, it's going to be some shelving, then there's going to be a cafe, then you're going to go around a corner into a shop, and then it's going to be, and he was just like, I think he was blown away how I'd already seen
Had the vision.
Yes, and very clear. And then he said, I'm in, bring your husband up, and we'll meet up with John from Island Tea and Coffee, and his business up in Hilsey. So I remember Math, because my husband, as you know, he's very much like...
He had a great time. He still does.
He's my rock. and he keeps me very measured, because I can go a little bit off piste, as you know, Terence.
Yep.
And he said to me, we met and my husband came with us, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to give him a drawing of what I've said to him. So I did technical drawing, level 5, bottom of the barrel. But I thought, got out a bit of paper, did a little drawing.
Like a floor plan, I thought you.
Yeah,
imagined.
floor plan. And honestly, we've got it framed inside Spark.
Oh, really?
It looks
Okay.
like probably now a 9-year-old could do it. Because there was no, it was like when we did technical drawing, it was get the old, you had to clip the paper on. It was no computers, And so,
but how amazing is that? That it's actually.
I know. And so I remember taking it in there, and then he said to me, right, Becki, if we take a picture, we'll zoom it up on the whiteboard. Well, I didn't realise that when you did this, it made marks on the whiteboard. I thought it was like a thing that you writ on. Well, I broke it. I didn't mean to.
Yep. Sounds like
Brian realised then who he was dealing with. And he was there with his wife and John, and there was something magical happened in that room. And my husband just went, yeah, but what are you in it? Why are you in it? Because that's my husband's only question is, but why?
Yeah.
Why are you wanting to be in? So him and my husband went for a little walk around his company. And then when they come back, Matt went, yeah, he's in. He's definitely in, Becki. He's the real deal. And then that's how the building work started. Me being me, I was like, well, I'll open. My husband's a bricklayer. He can put a bit of kitchen unit on. But we're opening. That's my only goal was we're opening. Little did I know we would open as well as we did.
Yeah.
And we had no funds. People think, oh, you're well funded. At that time, we had no funds.
But also you were going from no expenditure to suddenly bills, rent, materials, full building work. It
was colossal. And I remember we'd just done the summer ball in the June. And I said to it took us 72 weeks to get the keys from the time we gave the offer. It was a long, long time. And I remember saying to Joe Sandler, who's been amazing, he's always done our summer ball for us. It was the first ever summer ball. He raised nearly 11,000, I think it was.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And that paid almost our first year's rent. And it was just the most beautiful thing. And that's what I love. When people have an idea, they love Spark enough. I'm not interested in what you raise. That bit is secondary. The bit that somebody wants to do something for Spark. So he came up with the idea of a ball. He came up with the idea. And well, now we've done 2 balls, and it's raised nearly £20,000 just having 2 balls. Yeah. So it's like, and that's just someone saying, Becki, have you thought about doing a summer ball?
But also he had a personal connection with Spark as well. So I think everyone who's involved has a story or knows someone who uses Spark or knows you, obviously, which sometimes,
it could be a negative.
It could be. It is for me now.
You love me, Terence.
How was your holiday?
Great. Had a little bit of a wobbly tummy when I came back. Thank you, Terence, for bringing that up. But I just think that you have to be honest. It's not all roses and champagne. It's it's blooming hard work. It's not a case of you leave the charity at 2:00 and that's over with. The reality is you are still working sometimes till 10 at night on the computer, just figuring out, stuff. And so it's not easy. And I always say to people, but I knew the end result. I knew I wanted something like the Pompey Centre. Yeah. I knew I wanted the best that Portsmouth had. And we're in Pompey football grounds, old shop. Do you know what I mean? It's iconic shop. Everybody knows the Pompey shop if they know football.
The footfall as well that place gets. It's one of the main roads into Portsmouth. So it's got people constantly there. The reason I was asking about your holiday was because I think it was the day you landed. I was with Helen Brown from Home Instead Portsmouth. Yeah. And I knew you just landed. She went, Becki's been at this thing today. I was like, she's only just landed. How? Like, you are always there. And it's interesting you bring up the chronic fatigue and you say that the hard work behind the scenes. What is it that people don't see? Because when I heard that you were at something, having just landed in the country, I was just going, why? Why are you there? Have a rest.
I know.
But it's not as easy as that, is it?
It's not, because now I have an amazing team. I've Charlotte every day. I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for the full team that we have now. But people still sometimes think that only I can answer their queries. But what they don't realise really is that the team now answer their queries.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, and I think that's the way that we've always wanted it at Spark. I had to be quite vulnerable, put my story out there for Spark to start.
Yeah.
Now you'll see less and less of me, even though I know.
Do we?
I know. I'm hoping. Well, like yesterday, we had a networking meeting that Spark went to, but I didn't.
Yep.
And that's what will start happening, is that Spark will still be represented at all these things. Some I will get to go, but my heart is always to be at Spark, because there's nothing more beautiful than seeing somebody that comes from the doctor's surgeries, because the doctors prescribe us as a safe place, and they're trusting us. They're trusting us for their first step out of their homes. And so for me, that will always be my first love. And it doesn't matter. It's a big struggle for me. I mean, my first holiday away since Spark opened was...
so you really needed that holiday?
I did. And my husband too, because what people don't realise is he gets the 50% Becki and I give my 100% to Spark.
Yeah.
And it's a privilege now to say that I'm changing that ratio, and I'm saying actually MAF now deserves the 100%.
Yeah.
And Spark will start to, it will always be my first love in the sense of where I go to help people. But I need to repair a lot of what I gave second place to, really. And he's been amazing. And he really deserves to be up for any award that Spark gets, because without him, there is no me, because he's the one that carries the slack. He's had to work really hard.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the work he was doing in the Pompey Centre when that was going from stage to stage to stage. And obviously he is, like you said, although you have this support network of ambassadors, Matt, I think, is the most important person in Spark, arguably, because someone needs to support you, and that support happens when you're at Spark. But at home and everywhere else, it's Matt, isn't it?
Yeah. And when I finish Spark, I literally go home, and the team are really good now. I try and leave a little bit earlier. I don't do the close down very often now, so that I can go home and have a 2-hour or 3-hour sleep before Matt gets home. So then I'm a bit more refreshed. And that's what people don't see. They don't see the fact that I've had to really rest. It took a therapist an hour to explain to me what true rest was, because I'm a little bit like, oh, that's reading a book then. No, Becki, your brain's still active. Well, that's watching crap TV. No, that's still, and it's like, rest is lying on your bed or wherever you can, and just to try
switch off.
And Max from Max Effect, she came in and did some community yoga, and it was her breathing techniques that have really helped me to go, when you breathe in, you go, I am here. You can't stop the chaos in your head sometimes, but you can just go, and that's how my body then repairs. And then it's like a battery, it just goes to flat very fast.
Does it feel nice now that you don't have to be the person answering all the questions? Because I know if the last couple of years it would be, need to speak to Becki, need to speak to, and obviously there will be ambassadors or certain clients or whoever will want to always speak to you, which is always going to be the thing, because you are Spark.
Yeah.
Does it make a big difference now that you're able to sort of just go, Charlotte can handle this, or the volunteers can handle this, and you can sort of just push things away for you to focus on the sort of strategy of Spark now?
Well, I remember when I did one of your social clinics here at Delivered Social, it's absolute, and I would say to anybody, if you've never done a Delivered Social clinic, it was one of the most empowering things, because I want to hide, and you say to me, I can't, like online, it's, and I really, that is something that I always wanted to be in the background. So for me, that's a big struggle, because I always wanted to be unseen, and now I'm seen, and it's one of those things I struggle with. But I really appreciate one of your social clinics that I did, and it was like, oh, okay, and you said to me about, right, now you need to strategize, and literally on that Monday we went back, and because we've now got a team of 6, can you believe that? 6 part-time people helping behind the scenes, and it's like, and we just wrote on the board everybody's name, and Charlotte had cut out all the different jobs, and it was like, people went, well, I'm happy doing that. And then when it gets to what people aren't happy with, it was like, well, actually, I know I can do that. And then, so now we've got it quite streamline. And then as we grow even more, because trust me, I've got a bit more buzzing on in the side of my head. This isn't just the only venue we're going to have. I can't say too much details yet, but we're going to have another side of the charity. So Spark Community Space, that will always be our home.
Yeah.
But we have got another idea that's in the background working on, and it's going to be called something a bit different. And that will be more of a pop-up basis.
But still sitting under that Spark umbrella.
It will always, everything I do will be pay what you can afford. I don't like it when there's a fee involved, because people that need it sometimes can't, and yes, someone always says to me, but some people will misuse it. And I say, well, my sister runs the Waterlooville Food Bank, which is phenomenal. And she always says to me, don't concentrate on the 2 or the 5%. The sneaky people that think, oh, I've just got a food pass, or I've just got a cup of tea and haven't paid for it. Because their lives, they won't grow. Look at the 85, the 95%, and you'll see the blessings that way of people that are giving their pound and they can't afford it. And so that's what I've done. I've looked at the people that are a blessing and not the people that take the mickey, because we don't really have that, because the volunteers don't allow it.
Yeah.
We've got quite a team of volunteers. I mean, honestly, I feel very blessed with my volunteers.
How many volunteers do you have at Spark?
So we have over 40 now of people that volunteer work-wise, time-wise, live-wise, behind-the-scenes-wise. There's over 40.
Wow.
It's phenomenal, isn't it?
It's incredible. It really is incredible.
I just feel like, and this is just the start, Terence. We haven't even been open a year.
Which is scary, because it feels like it's been a long time. But I think it just continues to grow and continues to blossom within the city. Do you think this Spark model would work in other cities in the UK?
Yes, absolutely. That's been what we're blueprinting at the moment, is how would it work? And the key point is, I would never run any more than Portsmouth.
Yeah.
So because I think if this was in Southampton, if this was in Guildford, this was in Chichester, or anywhere like that, it has to have somebody from that area that loves that area, because it's the heart. It's the absolute, do you know what? I want to almost give my heart to the community that I love and see it blossom. And that's the key to Spark is, and I'm not saying an outsider and a new person, because I wasn't born and bred in Portsmouth. I was born and bred in Pembroke. And, but to me, it has to be somebody that just is full of love and kindness. And if you're not genuine, people will find you out. They will find you out. And Pompey is, it won't suffer a fall. No.
People are kicked out very quickly, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very kind city. But if you're there for the wrong reasons, you won't last. And that's just me being honest. People think, oh, I've set up a charity, now everything's rosy. No, it's really hard work.
Yeah, it really is. And I think with funding getting less and less every year, I mean, the impact of those charities has to be seen. And you guys are seen. You guys do an incredible job in the city.
But I think even that, when I do networking, I remember someone from another charity, when they did a speech, it was about the project, and they were asking for money. Spark won't do that. It's about, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
And then together we create beauty. And I think that don't ever be money focused, be purpose focused. Look at the person and think, how can I help that person? If you look at the pound signs, you're in the wrong game. And I do live in the reality where things cost money. But I also live in the reality of, if people see your kindness, people will support.
But I think that's probably the nice balance between you and your trustees and your ambassadors, because you have been in those situations.
Yeah.
You can give it from the other point of view where they may not have been in that situation before.
Yeah.
Especially with the pay what you can afford.
Yeah, and that's something that to me is non-negotiable, because when we've got a beautiful creative corner. I mean, some really wacky stuff goes on in that creative corner. I mean, you could be making jewellery one week, the next week you're making pom-poms, it's whatever somebody in the community wants, we then go, right, next week we're doing that. So it's never led by our team, it's led by the community. So it's really quite
What's
cute.
Spark doing at Christmas?
Well, at Christmas, this is a tricky one, because this is when I know people will need us to be open, but actually we're closed. And there is a real reason. So Christmas week, which is up till the 21st, every day that week, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to have like a mini party every day.
Wow.
So we're going to do special toasties of cranberry and brie, and we're going to do really lovely cakes. And then we've got singers and entertainers coming in. And then we close until the 2nd of January. And that's because our team is absolutely exhausted.
Also, a lot of volunteers as well, so they deserve a break too, right?
Yeah. And that's where our aim is always the volunteers. And they are giving everything that they've got. And they need now time for their family. They need time with their grandchildren or their aunties or uncles. And that's what Spark's about, is it's the only time of year we close. When we were at Sherlock's Bar, we closed for the summer, whereas we don't do that anymore. And so we always said when we started the charity, we're having a complete shutdown at Christmas. So from the 21st of December to the 2nd of January, we are closed.
Okay. There's one bit which I forgot about, the period in which you went from Sherlock's Bar, didn't have a home, and then went to the Pompey Centre. You had this space where you were in Southsea Library.
Yes.
Now, I've never liked Southsea Library because it used to be Woolworths.
Oh.
And you used to have Pick a Mix, and now to see it not there anymore, it's heartbreaking, to be honest.
It's triggering, isn't it?
But Southsea Library, you guys really did breathe in some space into that space, didn't you?
Yeah.
I remember walking past and God, it's noisy in there, and it's a library.
Yeah, wherever we go, it seems to be noisy. Sorry.
But it was amazing.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because you knew this wasn't your permanent home.
Yes.
But you really were. I mean, Sherlock's Bar is still part of the community, and obviously, but it was on Osborne Road. This was very much on the high street.
Yeah.
You know, so when you had, the markets going on and everything, you were there. What was the difference in having that space ready in time to move to Pompey Centre?
Well, I remember because Richard never said to us we could no longer be at Sherlock's Bar. That it was just the fact that I personally couldn't do two things because it's a lot of effort to open on a Tuesday and Wednesday. You have a lot to create Spark and then to shut it down for it to be a bar again. But I just knew I was not capable of doing both venues. And Angela at the library said, "Oh, you can always use the library, Becki." And I just thought, you know what? I can't see it working there because Spark is
Noisy.
And I always think libraries should be quiet.
Not anymore.
And Angela went, "No, Becki, we love a bit of noise." And I was like, "Yeah, but Angela, we are noisy." And the good thing about the library is I only did the first few weeks and then the team took over. Most people don't realise that. And I would just pop in.
Was that like a little bit of practice for you for the next place to sort of feel what it was like giving the reins to somebody else?
Yeah. And also then doing the build because that was mentally, physically, I don't know how I did it because I'm so grateful, and I will say it every time to Brian and John and Chris from Zinc IT. There was the three of them that they then coordinated because I can't do spreadsheets. So I can't coordinate when a plumber's going in to the gas fitter, to the carpenter, to the kitchen fitters, to the toilet. I can't do that. So these three guys, Zinc IT, GRP Solutions and INT Coffee, they literally did it all.
Amazing.
They managed the whole thing. And then B&Q through the Neighbourly Fund gave us £5,000 for the new flooring. And everybody just worked. The community, I mean, we've got the best CCTV cameras. We've got surround sound. We can have a movie afternoon. And I just look at it and I think, this is all from a coffee shop online and just saying yes and not thinking too much. I think if I'd have thought that this was the ending of, like, the beginning of Spark in this massive space, I'd have been like, oh, I'll just stay online.
Really?
It's scary. It is scary, but with a big team of support, I would not be able to do this without all the ambassadors, the trustees, the friendships. I couldn't do it. And the other charities like Claire from Pompey in the Community, the other Claire from Motivate, they are phenomenal women who have become my friends. And it's the support because it's very lonely at the top. It can be very lonely at the top. You have to be guarded of who says what to whom and stuff like that. And having Hannah and having the support system of truth where we meet up, we talk our truth, and then we feel like,
get it out.
We could do another day, you know. because most charities in Portsmouth will be working with other charities. You know, there's such kindness in the city.
And I think it's important what you say, because people don't know the behind the scenes. They don't see all the effort which is put in for the final product, if you like.
There's a lot. There's a lot of, you know, I mean, the fact of even making sure you've got enough milk, coffee, tea, sugar, bin liners, toilet rolls, just that in itself. I mean, who knew that you needed a spreadsheet to do all that? Bothered? No. But somebody else is, so they do it. You know, and that's the joy of it, is like you see other people sparking back into life, just doing their joy. You know, because some of these people have been either out of work for a long time. I just love it. I love seeing people just being really finding their joy.
So those people who are out there who have perhaps not visited Spark yet, and they want to, but they probably still feel a little bit anxious and they feel safer at home, what would be your advice if you're speaking to that person right now and they're not sure whether they can visit? What's your advice to them?
I'm going to tell you a story that will shock you. I remember Shaping Portsmouth when it had their first conference at the Guildhall. My husband dropped me off outside and he said to me, "You're going to be okay, Becki." I'm like, okay, I don't know where I'm going. And I remember I went in the side entrance. I didn't know you went up the steps. I went in the side entrance. I literally had a complete meltdown. My hair was even sweating. And I got to the steps of going up to the level of where the registration was. And I got so overwhelmed. I got to the top of the step and Steph was there, the CEO of Shaping Portsmouth. And he just held my hand. He knew that I was not in a good place. And he just walked to me, held my arm all the way through to where his daughter was at registration, until I found somebody I knew. And then he walked away. And I just thought, yeah, people don't realise that I struggle so much with that walking in. And that's why we have trained volunteers that are just looking for people on their own, that they will just come alongside you and they'll just go, "Do you want a cup of tea with me?" So you don't even, it's very gentle. It's not like you walk into a supermarket. It's like, "Hey, how are you doing today? Would you like a basket?" And you're just like, "Wah!" You know, it's very gentle. Everything we do is very gentle. And it's still sometimes a little bit chaos, because you never know what you're going to find when you get in there. But I would just say to people, I know what it feels like. That's why I watch the door. That's why if they make it in, I am the proudest person, because I just keep going, "Well done." And they look at me like, I've just walked in a door by the end of it. And I'm like, I know how hard that was for you. And I think that that's the key, whoever you have on that. And I think that that's what I would like to change in the city. All the networking, all the groups that we go to, stop looking at just being with people you feel safe with. When you are safe, start looking at other people and bring them into the conversation. Look at the people that are on their own and bring them in, because then people will start to belong and the networking groups will grow. And then you become a better city just by being kind. And it's like so obvious, but yet we don't do it. We don't do that. And I'm terrible. My husband will tell me off every day. He says, trying to get you out of a room is a nightmare. He says, "Did you want to say goodbye to everybody?" And I'm like, yeah, but if I forget the wrong person, it can make someone feel really. He says, wow, that's the thing that winds my husband up the most.
That's the thing that winds him up the most.
It is. He says, you can never just leave. He says, you have to say goodbye to people. And it's like, it's not just one person. And then if he goes with me to something for the charity, he'll be like, "Oh, great, I'm going to be on my own." And that's why he loves. I know you are now, but you know, Math. He's not always. We'll just keep the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, by the time you turn up, we're quite drunk, because that's how long you've taken.
I know.
But that works for us.
I know. And he goes home happy.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. You know what I mean? No, it's a very small city with a lot of love. And it can be even better just by a few little tweaks of just say hello to people.
So last point.
Yeah.
I know you don't sell Spark.
No.
But we're going to do it anyway, because I want to do it.
I hate selling it.
I'll sell it. Don't worry. How can people get involved? And I'm not talking about monetary. Good. If they can support, how can a business, a charity, an individual, or a student, or somebody who's new to the city, how could they get involved with Spark? What do you guys need?
So we have got lots of ideas. We need skilled people in computers. We need skilled people in social media. but not just doing posts or stuff like that, but actually to help us. Because we always believe in, let's just keep helping the team grow. And so we're just about to get the build going on our social media room. So it's like all those things that are going to be happening. We just need a bit more support. Volunteer at a live session is really interesting because that's how people get connected. And if you're doing something like a run or an awareness day, just do it for Spark. Because we had somebody came to LinkedIn Portsmouth and we were happened to be that night the charity of choice, and someone then went back to his golf Hampshire Hackers and put our charity forward and raised £6,000 for us.
Wow.
And it's that now we're getting more established. It's like just choose any charity in Portsmouth. It doesn't have to be Spark, but don't just go out there and just do a run. Do it with purpose. Because your purpose, if it's £10, £20, £50, makes huge difference. And it makes people that are in these small charities go, we'll open another day because Fred's just given us £20. Or because it's those little numbers. People keep thinking it's big numbers. They make us make bigger decisions. But if we had 100 people just doing £2 a week, that's huge. And there's everything's on our website. Got a simple donate button. We try and do lots of things. We've got lots of ideas. We're trying to get a film made so the doctors can give out a clip of Spark, what it looks like, and how and it's talked through with somebody with anxiety, so you can see how Spark looks before you come, and that's in the plan. And that costs a lot of money to do that because we want it done at a high level, and so things like that. That's what we're looking at. Is we want to be able to be the best at showing somebody what is in Spark, but in a simple way. Does that make sense?
Amazing. Yeah, it does make sense. So if they want to just donate and they want to do it quietly, can people donate anonymously?
Yeah. You can just go on our donate button. It goes straight to our CAF bank and you can do it anonymously. It's really easy. And a lot of people do that. You can also do it so that people know. And you can also just email us and say that you've donated. And there's on that donate page, it will then take you to if you want to do a one-off, a monthly, and then if you want to be an ambassador. And an ambassador is a set price, but some people pay way more than the ambassador price. And we're just in talks with some companies that now want to come on board as partners, which is a bigger finance. I'm not used to stuff like that. And then when they say to me, how much is it going to be? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't honestly know. And I think that I don't want to put somebody off by saying a figure. And also I don't want to sell it too cheap.
Yeah.
So maybe that's I need another social clinic.
Maybe. It is Friday. We do normally do Fridays, don't we?
Yeah, I always choose the early slot because I know it winds you up.
And then you're off to the Queen's Hotel.
Always the Queen's Hotel.
What is your fascination with Queen's Hotel? Because I think of the Queen's Hotel now, I just think of Becki Simmons now.
Well,
it used to be Mr. Bean because he stayed there.
What it is when you go somewhere and it just feels so wonderful. The staff are exceptional. And I just go through the door and I just feel like...
Is that your safe haven away from Spark?
Yeah, because I'll go there. It's one of the only places I'll go on my own. I always have someone I meet there, but I would actually go through the door on my own. And it just gives you that feeling of like, I even have my own chair there. Is that embarrassing? And I remember Kate, the comms manager there, last week she had Aaron from South Downs College in, and she said, you do know you're sitting in Becky's chair, Aaron. And when I walked in, I had to sit with him because it was like, I'm not moving. And he found that quite funny. So we ended up my meeting with Aaron and... well,
he's never going to sit there again, is he?
No, but he did say he can see... And it's when people come to meetings there with me on a Friday, because Fridays is actually my day off. But as you can see, I still do stuff. And
yeah, I mean, you don't actually have days off, really, do you?
What it means is it's my day to choose what I do.
Yeah.
And it's always at the Queen's. And so in a minute, we're off down to the Queen's to have a meeting about summer ball.
Oh, exciting. Any details?
Delivered Social are involved. And
I'm on holiday that day.
No, you're not. I've already told the plane companies they can't expect Terence to be flying away. I've already done it, Terence. And you know me, I'm a princess.
Fine.
So we're going down there now and just talk through details. Because even though I know what I want, I know to the detail how it's got to be. And that's what people don't expect from me. They think stuff's just being thrown together. No, I'm detail focused on like how it's got to feel. For me, it's how does it feel? I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to feel right. And when I walk into the Queen's, that's what I get. I just feel right. It's like, you know, it's just so cool. And if you've never been on a holiday, you can just go to the Queen's for a night. Honestly, it feels like a week. You've got no travel. Just turn up. It's great.
Rock up, have a cup of tea.
Oh, I've got to have a cup of tea.
Talk me through this cup of tea making. If somebody's making a cup of tea for Becki, you need to listen to how does somebody make you a cup of tea, Becki?
It's got to be a white cup.
It's got to be a white cup.
I don't do any coloured cups. What's that about? Oof, yuck. It's got to be a white cup, little bit of milk. So basically a normal semi-skimmed milk. Fill it up with hot water. Then you put the tea bag in. It's got to be PG tips.
Yep.
Or Portsmouth tea. Quite like Alexis Portsmouth tea. And then I just dip it. And then out it comes. It has to be...
So it's not left in there?
No, not tea bag strong. No, tea bag weak.
What happens if someone makes you the wrong tea? Do you just throw out them?
What, like you did just now?
Yeah, I did make an awful cup of tea. Yeah.
Down to a drink.
That's a good cup of tea, that.
No advertising. I showed that part. Yeah. Did you like that?
Pompey Coke.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just the little quirks of being with me. It's like I won't eat off a coloured plate. Certainly won't eat off a chopping board or a blackboard. What's all that about?
I don't like them. Those slates.
How can they really clean it?
Can't.
Could you imagine you eating somebody else's saliva? Sorry, basic. That's me. But no, it has to be a white plate.
So Spark is everything all white plates.
It is, but we have black cups, but white inside.
So that's okay.
Well, not really, but I didn't buy them. They were free from Sainsbury's that shut down in Farthington. They shut down their cafe. So I got all their cups.
So if we can get you some white cups,
yeah,
would that be better?
Yeah. They've got to be quite a nice white cup. Hannah's got a really nice cup over there. Really nice cup. But why would you drink out of something that's not white?
No comment.
She's not commenting.
Okay. White cup. Tea bags are not allowed to soak.
No.
How many dips? How many dunks?
3 maximum.
Does Matt make a good cup of tea?
Or terrific. But I always know when he's a little bit like, you can't really say pissed off, can you?
Yeah, you can.
Cross with me because it'll be a slightly stronger. And he'll go, oh, sorry, left the tea bag in. Oh, really? Did you though? Did you? I don't think he did. I think it was on purpose. And he convinces himself that it wasn't.
Okay, well, the good thing is now we can cut this bit about the tea making. We can send it to everyone in Portsmouth, so then when you do go to places, they'll know exactly why.
Yeah.
Or they can buy white cups.
I don't understand. I went into one cafe and they went, we only have grey. Grey? Honestly, do it as a competition. Get 2 cups of tea, 1 in a white cup, 1 in a coloured cup, and it just looks so different. And you'll actually see what I'm talking about.
I mean, they do that with food in restaurants, Michelin-star restaurants. Always white plates.
Yeah.
So maybe you're onto a thing there.
I just know my level. It's quite low.
Queen's Hotel. White cups.
Well, the Queen's Hotel. Oh my gosh! Have you ever been there for their caramel profiterole things? They come with an afternoon tea.
No.
Oh my gosh! I literally just go. They're so divine.
Well, I don't know who we're advertising here, Spark or Queen's Hotel.
Well, I think the 10th hole do a blooming good cake as well. Yeah. Now, I'm not fussy, but I am. It's really weird. It's controversy, isn't it? Because I don't really like going out for food, but then I do when it's nice.
And it's your comfort.
And it's my comfort.
Home.
Because for me, we went out for Sunday roast a little while ago, and on the next table to us was Hannah, and it was like...
Hannah.
The place was so noisy. There was so much going on that I felt like I just wanted to get out of there. And then the food doesn't go down right because you're really anxious and you don't enjoy it. And I just need to go where I know it's quiet or I'm sitting to the side. So I've got strategies in place. I won't ever sit in the middle of a room. Or if I do, you'll find me not eating or just being quite anxious. I do like sitting to the side. And it depends what it's for. If it's for like a quiet event, I'm all right. But if it's loud and there's so
A lot
much
going
on, I just get overwhelmed.
Do you think that helps even more with Spark because
Yeah.
you're aware of that?
Yeah, I'm aware of people's anxieties, and when a new person comes in, I either sit them in the lounge or I sit them in the cafe with their back to the window so that they feel like they're watching the room rather than watching a window because they don't know who's coming behind them. And it was all those little things just make spark. The details, Terence.
Details. Oh, we don't do details at Delivered Social. We wing it.
No, you don't. You're blooming amazing at what you do.
I am. I can't speak for the rest of the team. Not for John, anyway.
Well, John, he's unique.
John's pretty useless. Rest of the team are really good, but John's not very good. He's not even here. He's not even here.
He's in a meeting down the
That
hall.
meeting's gone a very long time.
I know, but he's obviously got very.
Maybe he's making you a cup of tea. That's probably it.
Well,
Extra strong.
no, he's gone to the Queen's.
Oh, he's gone.
There are standards, Terence. I'm expecting Paul from the Queen's to turn up
With profiteroles.
with a little tray of, there you are, Becki. No. And I think the beauty of it is never assume anything. So when I go to the Queen's, I never assume anything. I never would expect, to me, the worth is going there. You know, so it's like people would say to me, like, they only go places if they get a freebie. I think, well, what's that about? That's not real. That's not real world. I go somewhere because I want to and because it has worth and value to me. And so, yeah, I just love living in Portsmouth and being part of the community.
Amazing. Becki, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
I think we could have gone. Really.
I think we could have gone for like hours. Can we?
You didn't ask me anything awkward. I thought you would have. I thought, Terence, this is your chance. You'd be quite mean and be like,
you bully me.
Well, there is that.
So, I mean, you could be mean to me if you like.
Yeah, but I don't want
not on camera.
No.
Just in private messages.
Yeah, in private messages. That's great fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a bit like, good morning, Terence. Are you up yet? And
I am.
And then, I like a bit of banter.
But like, I think, like you said before, it's important to have those outlets, right? When it's not all
safe
just
people.
work.
Safe people.
It's very easy to get drawn in, isn't it?
Yeah. So thank you for having me, Terence.
Thank you. Pleasure.